Growing up as a child of the 1980s, one of my favorite things to do was to listen to see, hear, read records. You kids today probably don't know what I'm talking about. You're too busy with your iPads and your dubstep, Twilight, sock hops. I don't know what you people do.
Anyway, see, hear, read records were pretty cool. They consisted of a vinyl record that had a story, which was also printed word for word in an accompanying book with pictures. So you could see the pictures, hear the story, and read the book at the same time. Pretty sweet, huh? Hey, we didn't have much in the 80s, so we needed something to get our brains going. Mostly these collections were centered around comic characters, movies, TV shows, anything that was popular at the time. And these types of records are being made by several different companies. Peter Pan records would usually have a pretty charming story, simply told. Disney's records had stellar production quality, excellent voice acting, and music from the show or film the record was based on.
And then there were the kid stuff records.
Kid Stuff had this great way of making records about other companies' intellectual properties and completely butchering the hell out of them. Seriously, at least half of their stuff in the 80s and 90s barely resembled the things they were representing. Now, sometimes that worked out for the better. Their full-length Masters of the Universe LP had a kick-ass intro song, a cool story, a really fucking creepy voice for Skeletor.
Castle Grayskull will be mine! Mine!
And I swear to God, to this day, it was narrated by Stan Lee.
Battle Cat is fast as the wind, but can they reach the castle in time?
Even though it didn't match the feel of the show in any way at all, it still had a unique, dark fantasy feel that worked well. But most of the time, Kid Stuff made sure to secure the logo and some artwork from their clients, and then do whatever the hell they wanted with the actual product. Most of their records never had any of the music or voices from the shows or movies. They opted for making their own corny themes and used some of the worst voiceover artists on the planet. But again, even with these changes, a lot of their work was passable. And as a kid, you could forgive a missing theme song or different voices as long as your favorite characters were still presented properly.
We also got book and record sets based off of video games. That's right.
During the height of the Atari age in the early 80s, Kid Stuff decided to cash in on the craze by releasing some see, hear, read records and cassettes based on some of the more popular games of the time, such as Asteroids, Yar's Revenge, Donkey Kong, and Missile Command. They featured stories that tried as hard as possible to tie into the concepts for each game, and they were kinda hit and miss. Obviously, it's hard to come up with stories for video games that really didn't have any kind of cohesive story to begin with. But the stories I've mentioned did do a pretty decent job of sticking to the stories listed in the game's manuals.
And on the other end of the quality spectrum, we got Pac-Man records.
Pac-Man at a picnic, Pac-Man at a haunted house, Pac-Man with superpowers, baby Pac-Man going to the market, Pac-Man at a marathon, Pac-Man Christmas, oh god, what? Ah! Oh yeah, I totally remember the level in Pac-Man where he went on a picnic, and who could forget the Pac-Man game that featured, who is this, Rat Bastard? I mean, who is this guy?
Seriously, Kid Stuff had no idea what to do with this character. So they just said, hey, Pac-Man's selling, kids love Pac-Man, they'll buy anything that has Pac-Man on it, so fuck it! Just put him in whatever, kids will slather it up.
I had the misfortune of owning some of these abominations, and a particular pile of rat pellets was this: Pac-Man Goes to Playland. Yep, can't forget that memorable level in the game, right? Pac-Man on a Ferris wheel? The first warning sign that you're in for some grade A crappadookie happens as soon as the needle hits the first groove of the record. This purple-veined prickly schlong raping your ears has the nerve to be called a theme song. Christ, it's like the producer just recorded his kid banging on a Casio.
Hi everybody, this is Pac-Man.
This is Pac-Man. Look at this cover. Yep, when I think of Pac-Man, I think of him riding a merry-go-round, sitting on top of My Little Pony rejects. Look at this, they have no arms on the cover, and Pac-Man only has one arm in nearly all the pictures inside the book. Where'd his other arm go? Did he get so hungry one day he just said fuck it and decided to chomp on it for a bit? That's horrifying. Oh, and see Miss Pac-Man? Yeah, she's not in this story. Why have her on the cover if she's not even in the story? Oh, that's right. Her game was massively popular at the time too. Put her on the cover to trick people into thinking they're getting 2 packs for the price of 1.
But you think that's bad? That's just the tip of the spiky cactus being rammed up your ass. The list of things wrong within these pages is staggering.
The ghosts' names are wrong, wrong, wrong. Every kid who played games in the 80s knew the ghosts' names were Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Clyde. Yeah, the American arcade versions did have the names in this album, which were Shadow, Speedy, Bashful, and Pokey, but still, no. Just no. These are Pac-Man ghosts, not a 1930s superhero, a Mexican mouse, a dwarf, and a fucking orange claymation horse. The art in this book is awful. I mean, this is the absolute minimum of what can be defined as artwork. Peter Pan records were also sometimes sparse in terms of production quality, but they at least had decent books with lots of color and some charming art styles. And the Disney records had books with lavish, colorful stills straight from the movies. This shit is just... I mean, this is supposed to be a fun house. This? It's 2 walls! It looks like Pac-Man was sent to stand in the corner as punishment for this piece of shit, and his parents are finally letting him get away. Your 5 minutes is over, you can get out of this shitty book now. Here he's supposed to be in a boat. Yeah, a boat on the sea of nothing. They couldn't even draw waves, ripples, nope, just a dog turd in the corner with a partially digested cat toy sticking out of it. But at least Pac-Man seems to have 2 hands in this picture. Well, that's a plus, right? I guess he vomited it back up and reattached it. Good for him. Too bad he's stuck in the Matrix. Look at this picture. Wow, isn't this riveting? 2 discarded snotty tissues with faces that look nothing like the ghosts from the game, wandering around in the snow.
It's like the book and the accompanying album are basically forcing you to use your imagination to fill in the rest of the story. There's nothing wrong with a child using their imagination, but if you're going to do that and that was your intention, why include a book in the first place? Why not treat it like an old-time radio drama, where the images are left up to the listener to interpret?
Sound effects? Background music? What are those? It's just this one douchebag narrating for 8 excruciating minutes without anything to add ambiance or atmosphere.
That time of the year that everyone loves the most, summer. You know, summer is the time for riding bicycles, playing baseball, throwing frisbees, picking flowers, and if you're lucky enough to live in Packville, you may visit Packville's
My God, this is putting me to sleep. I swear that Kid Stuff used up their entire budget on this thing, securing the Energizer sound and the Pac-Man logo. They did the rest by recording in the Kid Stuff office bathroom and drawing up the pages the day the book was going to be printed. How is a kid supposed to be entertained by this? I sure as hell wasn't. My mom would have been better off bringing me to Jolly Time and using the money she spent on this piece of shit on tokens instead, so I could play the real damned Pac-Man game. The overall experience for the money would have lasted longer and included some color, music, and flashing lights. You know, stimulation!
Well, I know how to get some stimulation out of this dung heap. Pack Frisbee! Hey, those 3 seconds were more enjoyable than this piece of shit ever has been. Now, if you excuse me, I'm starving.